Eric sent me some really interesting data from a study which shows that people's ignorance may well be making them more conservative. I'll explain what I mean. There's a study called The Perils of Perception, a 14-country study. And what it did was it asked people from 14 different countries questions about what they believe to be certain facts about their country and compared that to the reality. So for example, an example would be, this isn't one of them, but I could say to Lewis, Lewis, what percentage of people in the US do you believe are black? And Lewis might say, I believe it's 30%. And then I say, okay, that's what Lewis believes. Here's what the actual number is, and here's the difference. That's an example. The actual questions that they asked really tell us a lot about why people may have different particular views on so many political issues. Here's an example. This is the Ipsos MORI poll, to be clear, called Perils of Perception. People were asked, what do you believe is the percentage of girls age 15 to 19 who give birth in your country? So teen pregnancy rate, right? In the US, which was the country that was the furthest disconnected from reality on this issue, the average response was 24%. So the average person, the average of all responses was that people in the US believe that 24% of 15 to 19-year-old girls are giving birth to a baby. The actual number is 3, okay? Think about that. If you believe that a quarter of 15 to 19-year-old girls are giving birth to children, that is, of course, going to drastically alter your views on abortion, on birth control, on sex education. Now, it may alter them in ways we don't really understand. It wouldn't make sense. You would think if that's what you believe, you would want more birth control and more effective sex education. Let's put that aside for a second. Complete lack of understanding, Lewis, about the reality of teen pregnancy.
Yes, agreed. That's understandable. For certain people, depending on where they live, their opinion of it might be skewed. If they happen to live in a place where, let's say in one county or region, maybe it is maybe closer to 10, 15%. You know, they might have a guess like that.
Yes, but, Lewis, you're being overly generous, though.
Huge difference, yeah.
Let's talk about another one. What percentage of people in your country do you believe are immigrants to that country? Okay, and here, the U.S. second most inaccurate here. For whatever reason, people in the U.S. really seem to have a very incorrect understanding of what's going on in our country. The average guess in the U.S. was that 32% of people in the U.S. are immigrants from another country. 32%, 1 out of 3. The reality is 13%. So, of course, if you believe that a third of the population in the U.S. is immigrants from another country, that is going to affect your perception on immigration reform. It is going to affect your views on the Mexican border. And it is all based in a faulty understanding. And then, of course, this is just a classic. And this one you get when you ask people about Judaism or Islam. Out of every 100 people, how many do you think are Muslim? The average in the U.S. here, listen to this, Lewis, 15%. The average was in the U.S., people think 15% of the population is Muslim. The actual number is 1%. If you think it's 15, all of a sudden you think Muslims are invading, they're taking over. If you believe 32% of this country is immigrants, 15% is Muslim, you believe there is a Muslim invasion of the U.S. when the numbers, of course, don't bear that out.
And we know that these people are guessing, right? Yeah. Nowhere did they learn that 15% of the country is Muslim.
Well, maybe they heard it implied on right-wing media. I don't know.
Still, you know, it's even that, I feel like even that would be outrageous on right-wing media. But yeah, people are just making these assumptions and then basing who they vote for and their policy decisions or stances on just complete nonsense.
Out of the 14 countries involved in the survey, the U.S. came out second most ignorant. People in the U.S. second most ignorant with regard to the reality of these numbers within their own country, behind Italy, where people's perceptions were even more disconnected from the reality. The most accurate results came in Sweden, Germany, Japan, and Spain, as far as people's beliefs relative to the actual statistics within their own country. Very, very interesting stuff. This is the Perils of Perception, a 14-country study. I encourage you to check it out. Thanks to Eric for sending that.